Greetings to one and all, it's your old buddy Jay here coming at you with another Countermeasures game changer. Now this week I have a very, very special game to take a look at, and that is Lady in a Leotard with a Gun. Now this game was originally out on the PC, I believe, and it was recently put onto the PlayStation Store. So it's a PS4 game, but there's a whole load of gubbins about how you can also play this on PS5. The publisher is a publisher called The Voices Games Limited. And like I said, it came out on the PS5 on the 24th of October of this year. It is known to be an action shooter. It's meant to be in that genre. And the reason I'm talking about it is because I was looking at a whole load of different games this year. I'm about to do another podcast with my two friends, the Ferret and the Hairy Boy, who we are going to be talking about, more recent games that we've played or games that we've played over the last year that we particularly like. And I asked them if we might talk about some games that we didn't like. And then I started thinking, I was like, actually, there were some games that were pretty touch and go, but I hadn't really played anything I hadn't liked. And then I was going through my emails and someone recommended that I take a look at this Lady in a Leotard with a Gun. And I think it's just hit my number one spot of worst game of all time. Last year it was the Fast and Furious game, the Crossroads game, which was absolutely terrible. But this game is questionable and lacking some moral fiber. Now, basically what it is a third-person shooter, as you can see here. You are a lady in a leotard, a vector 3D leotard. You have a gun and you are walking around shooting people in a corridor, step and repeat every level. Now, I know that I don't want to be too hard on games like this because I know that new developers coming along are trying out they're sort of cutting their teeth, if you like. They're trying to get their chops and they're learning about how to use, various engines in order to create games and become a game developer. And I know it's very hard to get into. You have to have lots of different skill levels. You have to be understanding of 3D space. You have to have some kind of artistic kind of ability, if you like. You have to have a vision for what this is going to be. So I'm never really too hard on these games. When they're kind of on PC, I kind of think that's the place for these kind of games, those sort of, the developers that maybe it's just one person in a room. And Lord knows I've, made a few games over the years and I know how hard it is to kind of put these sort of things together. So, not that I've ever shown anybody anything because it's a learning curve. Now, when it is a learning curve, I think don't put it on the PlayStation Store. I mean, it devalues everything on there, in my opinion. I just don't see why this would be sat next to like Far Cry 6 or Cyberpunk 2077. In my opinion, there is a place for these games. It isn't on the PlayStation Store. And when I look on the PlayStation Store, well, once upon a time you would go on there and there would be some very, a lot of AAA games and sort of indie developers, and like Super Meat Boy was done by an indie developer and it was only made by 2 people. And that game is amazing. There's a lot of hard work, a creative vision, a lot of late nights, a lot of risk, and they put it out there for virtually next to nothing when it first came out. God knows how many years ago now, like 2011 or something like that. And that is a real example of an indie developer, a very small team, just kind of putting their vision into practice and really putting their skills, pushing themselves, putting their skills, to the test. And this game doesn't do any of that. This game, from what I can see, it looks like an asset flip. So all of these models are basically just stripped out from some Unreal Engine, pre-created kind of, a kind of brochure of different assets that you can then cobble together, because none of it makes any coherent sense. I guess the Doom approach of like corridor shooting is there. The fact that all of the monster designs and the people designs that are, that's meant to be coming to get you don't really match up stylistically is the reason why I feel that like these are all off-the-shelf assets. The lighting is bad. The connectivity of your character to the environment is bad. The design of your character is bad. So the only thing I do actually quite like are the colors of the character. I don't mind that so much. I'm almost a little bit afraid to say there may be some kind of racist things going on here because the creation of the the lady, big lips, dark skin, it's very stereotypical, and I don't really agree with how that has been handled in any way. I also think the incredibly tight lycra isn't doing this lady any favors. She doesn't move right. She looks like she moves like she's kind of got two dislocated legs, in my opinion, which while it's funny for about a second, it's you can't run, you can crouch, but then that looks even more awkward, and I mean, if you're going to take these assets, if you're going to just strip them out of like some kind of catalog and you're going to botch them together, at least spend some time refining some of those elements, because at the moment just bodging it all together and sticking it on the PlayStation Store for like £1.40 or 50p or whatever this was, which by the way, this is not worth it. Just to put it in perspective, Call of Duty Warzone is free. I know that has a massive developer, but behind it. But there are a lot of games that you can download for absolutely nothing. To kind of they're sort of building their brand. They're sort of saying, this is something we want to try out. This is something we think people might be interested in. And then they have in-game transactions or whatever. That's your choice whether you go into that. But to actually have a game like this that isn't free, I think is an absolute abomination. The shooting mechanic is terrible. The aiming is off. The lighting is just piss poor. The idea that this should be, it's got a whole thing about being on the PS5 and how it can run on the PS5. This could run on my calculator. It's like the whole game itself is like 1K. I swear to God, it's like, the amount of time that's been spent on actually thinking this through. It is a prime example of a developer, whether it's one person or several people, I'm guessing it's probably one person, has just decided to just bung it up on the PlayStation Store and try and make some money. Now, you could say there's lots of different reasons for that. Maybe people are, maybe they're on the breadline. Maybe it's their sole income. Okay, fine. That's one of those things where, you can get verified and submit your game to the PlayStation Store. But you have to have purchased a dev kit. You have to have gone through all the other motions that it takes in order for you to actually submit a game on this platform, let alone the Xbox, which I think this is also on the Xbox as far as I can remember. So money's been spent trying to get this, get this crap on the stores, and I think probably just save your money and buy food if that's your problem, or like pay your rent. I just feel that if you think that this is what constitutes a good game, it's a dupe. It's not even done tongue-in-cheek. It's not even like if it approached it from the point of view that like, this is a terrible game, don't buy me, and everyone bought it, and it was some kind of like ironic approach to playing video games on the PlayStation, then dive deep into that and double down, because that could be something that you could look at. But as you can see, these store-bought assets, they all drop down in a similar kind of the sort of collapsed pose, not the T pose, but the collapsed pose of dying. They don't disappear. They don't really make any sense. The shooting of the gun is just not right. The little purple thing. I mean, by the time I got to this stage, how many minutes are we in now? 8 minutes. So by the time I got into this part of the game, my finger was already hurting, because it's just, you're just non-stop clicking the fire trigger, and it's just not very good. I feel that I can keep bagging on this game, which I am going to, but there are a couple of elements that I do like. I like these mentally crazy dudes that run at you, and by the time they get to you, they don't really know what to do. It's just meant to kind of threaten you, and the fact that they kind of run from so far away and they've got these massive swords, it's just quite scary. I quite like that bit. It happened by accident. That wasn't intentional. That's just what that asset did. So there is something quite funny about that. Again, I like the colors of our crazy protagonist here, but the animation, everything is just totally pony. The lighting is a mess. The color palette for everything else is just gaudy and horrible. The fact that they couldn't even just drop in a door, it just says exit. It's like the worst thing. Oh, and then it switches to this kind of 2D platformer, which is completely bizarre. The mechanics don't work. It's the same principle with the assets, though. You know, it's one shot kill, which I found quite funny. You know, it's like your gun is, and it doesn't matter if you get hit by any of those purple things, those little pink balls. I think you can get hit about 20 times and nothing happens. it's just not very good. And I'm going to shoot through a wall there. Yep, there you go. Perfect. So the hit detection and all that stuff is total mess. It's just not really very well thought through. And I'm embarrassed that something like this would be on the PlayStation. I would have thought that, when people at PlayStation are actually giving the green light on some of these games and the go ahead, they obviously would have seen this and playtested. I mean, they must have playtested it. If they playtested it for 10, 15 minutes, they finished the game like I did. That is also the other embarrassment of this game, which is that this is my gameplay from start to finish. And during this review, you will see the whole game and we will complete it together. So we've been on a journey. So then the game shifts from being in the corridors to being in this very open world kind of, sand desert thing. There's people trying to shoot at you. Again, total mess. And then you're in the 2D realm, but in a 3D environment. This bit was a little bit more interesting in that, like, people were at least popping out from behind things to try and get you. I mean, it's not even alpha, beta. It's not even a test. It's not even a tech demo. I'd be embarrassed to say that I was linked to this in any way creatively. It doesn't make sense. There's no coherent story. At least make something up. Write a paragraph on the PlayStation blog just explaining what the story is. Just make something up. It doesn't matter. Just give some context to it. To not do it is lazy. Just think about what you're doing. Think about, what is this story? Who is this person? Why is she trying to complete this mission? It just doesn't make any sense. It's not clear, and I know that you can argue that, the restrictions of this person, because they're not very good at putting together games and they're learning and that kind of stuff. That's fine. But like I said, keep it on your own PC. Keep it at home. I don't want to see this. I don't want to see this. I least of all want to play it. It was truly, look, here come the dudes. Yeah. They are scary. I mean, that's awesome, but then they don't know what to do when they get to you, because they don't quite know how to attack you, or there's no hit detection from them whatsoever. I think I died there. I think that was a death, instant reset. Fine, whatever. So again, you're in the desert, and here they come again. You can see them really running from miles away. Look, here they come. They must have started so far back. It's brilliant. Draw distance, whatever. Color palette, terrible. These crazy dudes, easily the best thing in the game, until you get close to them and realize that, how rubbish they are. But I like the frantic nature of them pegging it towards you. And then this part of the game, I was kind of at a slight loss as to where I was meant to be going. I know there's some guys in the distance. Doesn't matter. They're one-hit kills, so you can just headshot them from miles away. There's no real sort of, there's no kind of instruction on where to go from here. I think this is the last level. I can't quite remember, actually. It might be a little bit further on down the line, but not that great. And again, the death animation is not very good. The sound is appalling. The music is terrible. None of these, the only aspects that I like of this game are things that just happen by fluke. So like the color palette and the crazy running dudes. Everything else is just an absolute shambles. It's not very well built. Like I said, like the contact detection is just terrible. The speed at which you move with your character is just terrible. I think if you want to be a creative and you want to work in this developer space, you have to start with an idea. You have to come down and say, look, what am I doing? Am I doing a 2D platformer? Am I doing a 3D action shooter? Am I doing a text-based RPG? Come up with the idea first, and then try and find, if you need to fit assets together like this, then that's fine. That is what they're for, but they are starting points. They're not actually meant to be the final thing, and that is something that this game has just accidentally thought is okay to do, and it isn't. So that was the end of the game, as you can see. So you win for now. So there is a little bit of a, there might be a sequel. I just feel that, please don't, sorry, what was the name of your company again? I've got to just flag it up here again. You were called the Voices Games Limited. It's, please don't, please just think about what you're doing in terms of the ideas behind this, behind your games and behind the concepts behind it, make it can be as rough and ready as you'd like, but if it's a good idea, then it will always be a good idea, no matter how rough and ready it is. A naff idea will always be a naff idea, and you can make it, you can just pull these assets off and try and make a quick buck, which is exactly exactly what you've done here. And I think it's absolutely appalling. I think that PlayStation should be ashamed of themselves that they've let this go through. And also, when I look on the PlayStation Store now, I see that there are loads and loads of games like this that are sneaking through. They're obviously making money off selling the dev kits. They're obviously making money off getting people to register these games. And they're just plastering them up there now. So you've got terrible games like this sitting alongside really amazing AAA games, sitting alongside real indie developers that have spent a long time pulling their games together and making them work, and it's just burying them. And I think that is the biggest shame of all, because those indie developers don't get the kind of top spot on the PlayStation stores when you go in, and yet for some reason this game popped up well before any of those indie games did. I think it's an embarrassment. So quite frankly, worst game of 2021 for me, for sure. Avoid at all costs, but obviously, if there is lady in a leotard with a gun too, or how about this? Lady in a leotard with 2 guns. There's your idea right there. There's the follow-up. Take that idea, make it yours. Copyright's all yours. I'm good. Work a little bit harder at it. Write a story. Release the next one. I'm all over it. Sell it for 50p. Give it away for free. Have an in-game transaction for, hair change colour, £800. Whatever you need to do to cover your costs. Just think about what you're doing. And if you are a gamer, I would say avoid this at all costs. I'm playing this so you don't have to. So there you go. That is my review of A Lady in a Leotard with a Gun. Now, like I said, avoid it if you can. And I will see you at the next episode of Countermeasures Game Changer. Now, all that's left to say is be good, stay safe, and be kind to one another. Cheers.